Now, what happened to those chimichangas? Hey guys, Alan here, back at it again with another film review. This time, the highly anticipated Deadpool and Wolverine. It's a good thing that Marvel's had to take a break from releasing movies, mostly because of the strikes, because it allowed people to we feel way more eager for the franchise than ever before, or at least the most it has in like a couple years. So, here we go. So, what's the story? In this third outing for Deadpool, aka Wade Wilson, aka the Merc with a Mouth, um, uh, some time has passed in the second movie where he's abused Cable's time travel device and wishes to now become an Avenger, but was rejected by a certain somebody, and after that wasn't able to be himself ever again, at least into the story of this movie, where he now works as a car salesman. But then once he gets recruited on a special mission from the TVA, aka the Time Variance Authority, coming from the Loki series, and he realizes he has to go on a special mission to save his own universe from danger, while along the way getting assistance from Wolverine, played once again by Hugh Jackman. Of course, as we go with movies that I see in the theater thanks to the experience, I enjoy this quite a bit. Because the thing is with the Deadpool movies, I like all of them. I even like this one. And for now, that would say this might be my favorite one just out of sheer ambition, because for sure I would have never imagined an epic Deadpool movie where the stakes are this high. These, for better or worse, these kinds of movies are pretty rare. Where like they're expensive-ish. Well, this one is definitely expensive. With these high-budget action comedy movies that are incredibly satirical and this heavily comedic, where they can serve as both a roast and a love letter to comic book films and even Marvel, with all the references and in-jokes that certain people will get, others won't. But part of the fun is just seeing the absurdity and just the dedication that Ryan Reynolds himself puts through the action and the story and the comedic bits. So yeah, you definitely won't see these kinds of movies anywhere, because man, Marvel is just a legacy at this point, that anything that's about Marvel, that rather than just a story, can leave like a huge impact into audiences. But yeah, a multiverse storyline involving Deadpool, I never would imagine that. What I for sure, with this being a Deadpool movie, the comedy is gonna go through the roof, and this one had so many jokes. Like, it's basically one or two jokes a minute, and it could get overwhelming at times, but I say for the most part, the ratio between good and like alright humor was pretty solid, because I'll say this, no joke made me cringe, but there were only like 20% of the jokes that just didn't give me a reaction just because it went by super fast. And of course, with this being like a more explicit, outrageous comedy, not all the jokes will be of people's taste, but since it goes by so fast, people can forget about it immediately. Because there's even details that I forget, and try to remind myself, oh yeah, that happened, because it just goes by so fast, because it's a slightly above 2-hour movie, but it does feel longer just because of how fast it is, like, which is, it's kind of a miracle that this kind of storyline isn't hastily edited. Like, it's a little choppy, but at least I say it has better pacing, let's say, like the Marvels. For sure, this, I never imagined this to have this many sex and gender jokes, and it just goes by like rapid fire. And for sure, this is the first MCU movie to have an R rating. Which we did have an MA series with Echo, and we're gonna have an R-rated movie with Blade whenever that comes out. But it's kind of impressive, like, that they were even, well, it seems impressive that they finally kind of like broke out of their shell and like make a mature, quote unquote, comic book movie. But I say this is as mature as like it's not really mature. It's quite childish. It's like as mature as like Rick and Morty and Family Guy. But and it turns out it didn't even take that much to convince the higher ups at Disney to make this R-rated. They were just saying, "Oh, we want to make this R-rated because the Deadpool movie." Like, sure, and they just went for it. I guess that's what make money sells, and it's being accurate and faithful to the character. And it seems like pretty much everyone involved was happy because for sure, everyone seems dedicated. Like they just want to give audiences a good time because none of the cast felt phoned in because there'll be some that are kind of underutilized, but it never felt phony. Like everyone felt like they liked being there and they just went all the way with their line deliveries and both like verbal and physical humor. Because of course there's not much else to say about the two leads. They've been doing this for a while, so they're gonna be great as always. Even with Wolverine, trust me, this does not mess up Logan. In fact, there's some parts that makes it better for the most part, because for sure there'll be some bits that people who did not want Wolverine to come back at all might be a little displeased about with some bits and jokes. But I guess if you're cool with what this does, I feel like this is a good continuation of Wolverine's story beyond the grave, quote unquote, because I'll go on that more later. But of course it brings back Deadpool's friends from the previous movie, and won't name them all, but because it has almost everyone except Domino, Cable, and even Russell, the kid from the last movie, which is odd because they make a big deal about him wanting to protect his world, being his friends. But Russell and Deadpool became friends, so why isn't he there? And I kind of would understand why Cable wouldn't be there because Josh Brolin, and I wouldn't mind him being the MCU's Cable, even him being Thanos. But Domino's the real head scratcher because like not even a reference to her. They mentioned Cable, but not her. And even like, and they're good friends, so why couldn't they be together? But whatever, I guess scheduling. One thing I can give major praise for, which this series has always excelled at, but this takes to another level, is the action. Because at least the past two movies have decent storylines, but the action is what excelled alongside the humor. Because I feel this movie not only has solid action, some of it might be some of the best the MCU has had in like the last couple years. Or at least since Guardians of the Galaxy 3. If you want to get, I guess, slightly technical. But yeah, the action is very well framed, choreographed, directed, and paced. And it has this great stylization that gives it more energy than it could have. And for sure, this provides a ton of fan service in terms of cameos. So if you're the kind of person that wants that kind of sort of thing, you'll be incredibly satisfied. But in terms of criticisms that I will get to, for some, but not me, this does go maximum meta all the way. Like it's the most meta I've seen Deadpool ever be, and it's what I would have wished for because I like the first two movies. I like the second one because it feels more like a Deadpool experience. The first movie felt like a basic introduction and was kind of light on the meta jokes. Well, this one, I guess, thanks to Disney's approval and Marvel Studios, they do push the boundaries, and I kind of appreciate that for that. And I would consider these movies to be both brainless and fearless because they really go all they don't pull any punches. But yeah, the actual criticism, the main one I would get for this is that it has an incredibly light plot. It's more like a series of events that happens that are tied together with a narrative. It's not a complex plot because when you compare with this and Logan, one of them is clearly gonna be guess which one has the better story? It's Deadpool and Wolverine. Nah, I'm just kidding. It's Logan. But I kind of I guess it's just more an excuse for like the chemistry, action, and comedy rather than like an actual complex story. So at least the good stuff helps it where it prevents it from being a slog. But Yeah, it's a very light, pretty predictable story where there are no true surprises aside from the cameos. Because in terms of narrative and everything you think is gonna happen does happen, and it does get a little egregious and it take some points out, but at least there's energy to it. It's pretty well paced. And when it comes to multiverse stories, I say the emotional stuff doesn't hit as hard as in like No Way Home. Because I guess it's so joke heavy. Even in the emotional scenes that I can't fully take the story seriously. It does try to have heartfelt moments, and some of them are effective, but it's not as emotional as it could have, because it's so fast and predictable. But at least I appreciate it for trying, rather than just being a soulless cash grab. Let's see. Oh yeah, the Time Variance Authority. I guess it brings them back from the Loki series. If one has not seen the show, even with the many references to it and an appearance, I feel like people can understand it just fine. Even though have some people have questions about it, I think they should get about it just fine. I feel like for the past few years we've gone like an extreme amount of multiverse stories. I guess revitalized thanks to Rick and Morty and stuff, but it feels like there's kind of a formula at this point with how they go. There's like, I guess, alternate versions, story about existentialism of who do you belong in the world, or do you matter? Do things matter? What are the possibilities? What are the limits? What can I do? What can't I do? And what person I can meet in the journey along the way? What are the benefits, the consequences? Just like what I witnessed in like some Spider-Man movies, The Flash, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Rick and Morty. Is like you do get seen some of the story beats that does get played before, because it kind of does nothing new with the multiverse, I guess, narrative. It's stuff we've seen before, but it's all about the entertainment value, and I guess it does it decently. But yeah, it's not phoned in. Oh, and yeah, of course it is R-rated. It's gonna have a ton of F-bombs, and I felt maybe that sometimes there'd be too many, where it kind of became a distraction and also added predictability. But I guess I have like more of like an open mind than others, so yeah, just a little off, but not that detrimental. And before I get to the spoiler segment, the other solid complaint that I would have is that the climax does seem to drag on, because there was some point where I thought it would be close to over, but then there's more. And I guess thanks to the jokes and them kind of like making it show with things that you've already seen before in previous like superhero stories, in terms of like the universe is at stake and you have to do this and the sacrifice and just the typical things. Is just kind of like go on longer than it should have, and they want you to make it believe like it's a serious thing, but because of how comedic it is and even the jokes they played in the third act, it does make it feel like it wears out its welcome. Marvel has done this a lot, but at least it made me feel pretty satisfied. Oh yeah, I guess this isn't a spoiler since he's in the marketing. There's a dog pool, which does play into like the typical, oh, it's a cute animal with comic relief, and oh, they're so adorable, and look at them. Don't they look at their eyes or their tongue? So it's a little manipulative and corny, but it's just a dog. It's not that very noisy. And it does go by so fast that there's some information I kind of miss, or at least misinterpret, where I'm like, how did this happen, or what was that? And I know they said it, but because again this goes by so fast, and with the comedy, is like, damn, I would have missed it. So I guess I kind of admittedly had to do some research afterwards to know what some of it meant. I was like, oh, that's why that happened. Okay. But yeah, time to get to the spoiler segment. I'll just give it a few seconds. So yeah, I'm gonna go rapid fire on the cameos that I've witnessed. Henry Cavill's Wolverine, CGI Hulk, Chris Evans, not as Captain America, but as Johnny Storm from the Fantastic Four movies from back in the day. Elektra, played by Jennifer Garner from the Daredevil movies. Wesley Snipes as Blade. A Gambit variant played by Channing Tatum, and for those that don't know, it was his dream to play the character, and he finally does it, even with a stiff as hell helmet and a bizarre voice that even Deadpool himself makes fun of. And Laura, aka X-23, played again by Daphne Keane from Logan, who definitely looks older, but I guess that's the point, like time has passed. And I say, well, I was like probably the best of the cameo, just in terms of like emotional resonance. They also brought in Pyro, a version of like Sabretooth, Toad, Psylocke, Juggernaut from X-Men The Last Stand. Deathstrike, Pyro, Happy Hogan. I guess a quick cameo on the screen from Thor. I guess speaking of the cast, I can get more into detail on like the other two major additions. There's Matthew McFadden as Paradox, who I thought would be a boring businessman, strict kind of character, but he had some good comedic bits. And had a good amount of energy and dedication from the lovely Matthew McFadden. I'm like, how is he so funny? I was like, oh yeah, Succession, Mr. Tom Wamsgams. And then we have Emma Corrin as Cassandra Nova, who's supposedly a twin of Charles Xavier. And for the performance, I say they do a good job. It's the kind of antagonist that feels underutilized but also highly entertaining, because they could have had more of the character, but from the time that she's there, she is highly entertaining and quite a hoot to watch. So at least I can't say she was ever boring, because when she was on screen she had my attention and I was wondering what she would do next, but she wasn't in it enough, which I get. It's a Deadpool movie, the villain's not the point, but at least I can say that I guess she's the best of the villains, because Ajax from the first was pretty standard. Cable, I'm not sure if I would count as a villain. He was like more of an antagonist, hurdle to get through, and by the end they all became friends, and Juggernaut was the last minute villain alongside Russell. So yeah, they're not Juggernaut's just a henchman in this one. This was the actual first true villain that I can actually remember, and is actually a force to be reckoned with, because she's pretty overpowered with her abilities. I found it a little odd that Pyro was only bad in this one, even though he was seen to be a good guy before. Also, by the end, in the credits, they played this montage of like behind the scenes info from like Fox movies. And it makes it fun. It's a little funny that they put bits from X-Men Origins Wolverine and the Fantastic Four movies, as if like people were fond of those, and continuing the tribute onto them. I was like, I don't think anyone's gonna feel the same way, but at least good job for treating them equally. And I was saying before, the heartfelt moments are mixed, where some of them do fall a little flat just because of the humor. Well, one of the better moments have revolved around Laura and telling this Wolverine, because by the way, this isn't our Wolverine from the previous movies. The one from Logan stays dead, even though Deadpool does met with his adamantium skeleton and claws, so his body's probably like all over the place. I wonder how Laura would react to that. So that conversation they had in the campfire was the best moment. And also, there's that one bit with Wolverine and Cassandra Nova where she's in his mind, and they at least they give him kudos for trying. So yeah, I appreciate that. And of course, since it's a multiverse story, there's going to be alternate versions of the lead character. There's like Dog Pool, there's a Nice Pool that cannot regenerate, which I guess is this great joke by the third act. And it has a regular face that looks like Ryan Reynolds, and also has long hair and this bizarre wig. And of course, you see an army of Deadpools of various kinds: a lady Deadpool, a baby Deadpool, a head pool with questionable, noticeable CGI, a samurai Deadpool, a techno Deadpool, a cowboy Deadpool. I think I saw a gray one. And then there's various Deadpools that look just like the original. And also, of like Deadpool's friends, I'm surprised that Peter had the most screen time. Not a lot, but he was in like several scenes. I was like, oh, they decided to give him some time after like what happened to him in the second movie. So yeah, it's a miracle this type of movie even exists at all. Yeah, in terms of like blockbuster filmmaking, like in the fan service, internet heavy world, stuff like this is a miracle, no matter what people like to say, because yeah, I guess the score is basically nothing aside from like some memorable tunes, and the use of licensed songs is hysterical, as you expect, like where they ironically go with songs that go against the tone, or at least what you see, like a certain song from the Backstreet Boys, Avril Lavigne, Madonna, and others. The visuals do look standard, except like a couple shots in the void, because for the most part the void looked much better in Loki with the colors and lighting, while here it just looks kind of standard and doesn't have that much personality for a wasteland, even when they announced they rip off Mad Max a bit. I would not surprise me if Deadpool and Wolverine reappear in an Avengers movie, because for one, it would be an epic payoff to what happened with Wade wanting to be an Avenger. And also, why not bring them back? It's the multiverse. One concept that they bring in just for the sake of this story, which I might be a little pain in the ass later on, but I'll see how they do it, is now they introduce the concept of anchor beings, which each universe has a special individual that if they die, that whole universe dies for some reason. And some will take like a couple thousand years, some take less time. And I know that this offers us motivation for like Paradox wanting Deadpool to join him on his mission, which I don't even know why he needed him. Like I said, some stuff must have fallen left my head. And I can see it as a payoff for later on, but I feel it'll be kind of limiting depending on how they execute it. So yeah, it could work, it could not. But for now, it was just for motivation. And also, I don't believe that humans killed the X-Men, because I guess that's the whole story, that he's the worst Wolverine because he let down his family and his friends, where he didn't come back to help them, and when he came back they died. And I'm like, was he really the special figure that would save them all if he was there? But I guess that's what they say. I find it a little hard to believe, but it's what happened. It took me some time to realize, but this had a decent message on who matters, because at first Deadpool wants to be an Avenger because he wants to matter to Vanessa, because it seems like she has a new partner, a boyfriend or something at work, and that he's single now. Cue the gay jokes. And he was feeling worthless. They left the mercenary business behind, just making money and finding a job with Blind Now and with the cocaine jokes. And then he finds an opportunity to join the 616 timeline because he'll matter, according to Paradox. And even when he's in the void, the whole thing of people being left behind, and I feel it's a good continuation of the theme of the TVA as it was originally in season 1, with authoritarian group that would be strict on what is and isn't allowed, and like who matters, who who doesn't, what should happen, what shouldn't happen, all because of the He Who Reigns / Kang the Conqueror. So it's nice that they applied that theme to Deadpool himself and make it continue well from the previous movies. We're trying to make a name for himself and like be of importance. I wonder what the other Deadpools thought about that, but anyway. It depends on you and your own path to matter. You can matter in your own way. You can matter to other people in their way. You don't need all this stuff. Because you matter. You determine your world and how it functions. And also it helps with the theme of like all the people in the void that were discarded, and even the others, like the resistance group of like Elektra, Blade, and Gambit, where they felt like TVA or whatever else felt like they didn't belong, they didn't matter, so just threw them out. But they were able to save a universe, they were able to save lives, so they mattered, and were gotten a happy ending of being taken back to their worlds. I'm not sure what happened with Laura, like why was she pruned? Why is she there? What made her not belong? But I actually would like to see how her story continues from here. I wouldn't mind if she was the X-Men's, the MCU's X-23, because there's so much they could do with that potential. I felt a little odd that she lost her Spanish accent. She can still speak Spanish, but I guess she's now found more American. But it's nice they brought in like B-15, well, no longer Hunter, just B-15 from the Loki series, as a couple of appearances to connect the Loki series and this with the TVA, and add some legitimacy of this plot being the legit real thing, and that it will matter in the MCU. It's not just a side story. So we'll see how this affects the future. This can go so many ways. There's so many possibilities on where now this Deadpool and Wolverine go, because this Wolverine's alive. So they can bring him back if they want to for Secret Wars, wink wink. And the TVA, of course, like Deadpool makes the joke of, it's the possibility of cameos and fan service, but also the endless possibilities of the multiverse, what they can bring in, what can they take out. So yeah, I'll be looking forward to how they continue in the future. So probably never mentioned Loki. But yeah, it finally came, and I'm looking forward to what happens in the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And for sure will probably be the most successful R-rated movie of all time. Impressive, Marvel. Impressive. Thank you, Deadpool and Ryan Reynolds and Kevin Feige and everybody. So yeah, I give this one an 8.5 out of 10. Bye. If you know, you know.